Before we get into the detail, a little bit about myself. I have been in the media advertising and marketing space now for 2 decades. My journey to that path was a little bit different. I am also a founder, so I've had Ultimate Edge Communications. We're celebrating our 11th birthday on July 1st, and so I started that, 2014? Oh my gosh, it's 12 years next July, so we've celebrated our 11th. And so I've been on a very similar journey to many of you in the room. You probably heard before that I have a history in figure skating. So I'm actually from the bottom of the South Island of New Zealand, a little town called Gore. We roll around. Yeah, I see. There's never, okay, well that's awesome because there's never anyone that knows where Gore is. So thank you. And it's a small town, 8,000 people, 3 roundabouts, no traffic lights, and really not much to do. So at the age of 4, my parents, in their infinite wisdom, took me along to a figure skating lesson. And just to give you context, everyone's been to an ice skating rink before? Yeah? Or you've seen one on TV at least, yeah? So typical ice skating rink is 30 by 60 metres. It's a good size. We had a ice skating rink that was 10 by 30. And it was just an old shed at the end of the town where you would it literally was a garage shed. Like, I can't give you any more specificity than that. And within this garage shed was a slab of ice. And just to give you an idea, even from just an ice cleaning point of view, so the Zamboni, you guys know a Zamboni, the big ice machine that goes around and cleans the ice, yeah? So that was a John Deere tractor with a mop out the back and a hose, and that's how we literally resurfaced the ice. So that was my humble beginnings. Anyway, long story short, fell in love with the sport, ended up having the opportunity to start to travel internationally. So in 2002, I was one of 5 New Zealanders selected to go to a Southern Hemisphere conference where some of the best coach at the time and the 5 top skaters were at this conference in South Africa. And it was basically, they were trying to get the Southern Hemisphere really on board because obviously it's huge in the Northern Hemisphere. And so I had the opportunity to spend a week with the best in the world. And I think what you learn when you get into that environment is, well, there's a whole nother level and you can really see the potential, see the opportunity and that kind of thing. And so that was the start of my international figure skating experience. It's what brought me to Sydney. I had the opportunity to compete at a world championship. So I came to Australia, tried out, got in, went to my first worlds, did 4 consecutive world championships, and then found myself wondering, what the hell am I going to do next? Because it's time to hang up the skates. Where do I go from here? And so that's where the door opened to my media advertising career. I spent 5 years in radio, launched iHeartRadio and did major promotions, consumer promotions, B2B promotions. Was heavily invested in the KISS 1065 network, which I think you guys have now got over here as well, or it's becoming KISS, I don't know. Anyway, and then was faced with, after sort of 5 years of a successful radio advertising career, was sort of presented with 3 doors. And door number 1 was continue in radio advertising, have a good time, do really, really well. The remuneration, everything was fantastic. And I was in my 20s at the time, so I was having a ball. So that was like the very easy kind of door to walk through. The second door was go and work for an agency and learn the ropes, like do the smart thing and like go and learn it. And the third door was throw a bit of caution to the wind and go and give it a crack myself. I'd never worked at an advertising agency, never run a marketing business, and then had to go, right, am I just going to back myself and give it a crack? And so July 1st, 2014, that was the journey. And I was sitting in my 3rd bedroom of my house in Lane Cove, waiting for the phone to ring, wondering like, what's going on? I've just started this business, why is no one here, right? And then the last 12 years have been that. So what I've learned in the sort of the 2 decades I've now had in marketing and media advertising is that yes, things are changing faster than ever before, but there's actually set methodologies, frameworks, and strategies that you can apply to any business as long as you have the discipline to get the consistent results that you need. And like what we were talking about at the beginning, not everything is going to work. There are going to be things that you do that don't cut through, don't resonate for whatever reason, but you have to be willing to pick yourself up, find new ways of doing it to be able to actually get the result that you all came here and you all started your businesses to achieve, okay? So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down this world of media advertising and marketing and what's coming. Having been in this space for such a long time, the thing that's blowing my mind is the speed at which everything is changing and evolving. So the way I ran campaigns 12 months ago even the way I ran campaigns 6 months ago is not completely different, is quite different to how I'm running them now. So that element of having to constantly, myself, I run a team, I've got a team of 20 that work with me. The education process and keeping ourselves on the leading edge is absolutely critical to be able to get the results that we need, because those, and you guys are probably noticing it, those front-end consumer acquisition costs are not getting lower. They are increasing at a significant rate, and so you have to be able to think about the entire funnel holistically to actually be able to get the return on investments that you need to attract the investors, to get the traction, and to do everything that you want to do. So that's the goal for today. We've got quite a bit of content to go through. If there are pressing questions as we go through the content, ask. Like if it's specific to that slide, I'm happy for you to ask, but otherwise take a note, because we've got 30 minutes at the end to cover off some of these questions for you, okay? So I want to have fun with you guys. I want you to get, my goal today is for you guys to walk out of the room with, at least 3 things that you go, that can make a significant difference in my business. Now, I'm conscious of the fact that you're all running small teams. Your resources are limited, so we're going to focus on that to make sure that whatever I can share with you today is something that you can take and actually action. Sound good? Awesome. Now, just a quick check, the team on, and I should have checked this up front, but the team on Teams, you can hear me okay, you can see me okay, you're up here, you can see me okay, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we're all good.
Amazing. Okay, fantastic. Rightio, let's get into it. So this world of the future of marketing and media advertising. So where are we right now? I'm not going to play this video because this is the first time I've met you guys, but you remember the Wolf of Wall Street movie? It's quite harsh. You remember the Fugazi, right? So we spent most of 2025 in this world of, okay, is it fake? Is it real? Is it going to work? What is going on? So this, I thought, was a great representation of that conversation when they're sitting at the restaurant and it's, Fugazi, it's Fugazi. It's fake. So this is where I think the premise has been is, okay, well, this all sounds really exciting. Everyone's getting hooked into it, but actually out of all of that excitement, what are things that we can actually take away, use, and get the results that we need? So what has changed? So obviously in the last 12 to 18 months, a ton of new AI brands have entered the market. So as of mid-2025, OpenAI still remains the dominant force in generative AI. And even this slide, like I was just saying to the team this week, we're going to have to update this for 26 just because of the sheer amount of traction that has been achieved in the last few months. So there's really, and you guys, you only have to listen to the Diary of a CEO for a podcast or whatever it might be to really understand what's happening. There's obviously an overarching theme, but there are very individual strengths to each of these platforms. So some of the challenges for you guys as founders is, okay, what platform is going to work for me? What platform is going to work for my business? And how can I do that in a cost-effective way to invest, but also to get the results that I need from it? When it comes to the marketing technology space, and this is one of the key pain points I find for founder-led businesses that don't necessarily have a marketing team, is trying to figure out the marketing technology stacks that you need to use that are cost efficient and that are going to get you the results you need without over-investing in 5 or 6 different platforms. So that's something we'll talk about more today. But what we're seeing that Salesforce, Adobe, and Microsoft are really competing for that share of enterprise AI budget. So they're really at the top of that sort of that mid to enterprise level. They're at the top. So they're really kind of taking charge with the AI agents, Salesforce releasing Agentforce, and really looking at how they can integrate AI into their current technology stacks. That's all good and well, but for a lot of founder-based businesses that are scaling up, this area is not accessible, right? So we need to look for the tools that you guys can use that are a lot more cost-effective to help you in that scale-up phase. And yeah, eventually, when you get to enterprise level, then we'll worry about that when we get there, okay? But this is very much, these 3 companies are leading the way. When you look at what's really interesting is the excitement, obviously, around AI has been huge, and I'm talking specifically in media advertising and marketing, but a lot of companies are actually lying to themselves. So McKinsey's latest report says that 70% of companies are using AI, so they claim to be using AI, but only 1% are actually getting value from it. So a lot of the feedback right now is that I'm using it, but I can't make it work, it's not doing what I need it to do, so therefore they're not actually doing the right things in the right way to be able to get the results. The companies, the 1% that are actually doing things differently, what they're doing is they're actually looking at rebuilding workflows from scratch. So they're not just going to try and attach, you know how you go, okay, well, I'll just attach that on and hope for the best. First of all, hope is not a strategy, just saying, in case you were wondering. But if they just attach it on to old systems that aren't working, whatever it might be, you're not going to get, it's like crap in, crap out, right? You're not going to get that effectiveness. But if you can start to think about it and go, okay, what workflow right now could I actually build and leverage AI? I'll give you an example. Recruitment is one of my biggest pain points. I hate it, it drives me crazy. I like the interviewing process, but the rest of it drives me absolutely crazy. And so we spent the last year improving our process so that we could automate and basically create a marketing funnel for new people coming into our business. So, they see the Seek ad, they go to a quiz, they then get an automated landing page brief, they respond to that, they go through a little questionnaire, and then finally I end up meeting with 5 or 10 people out of 200. Now, we automated that process and we fixed that process first. Then we took an AI platform called Relay and we introduced Linda at Ultimate Edge Communications, who is an AI agent. Fabulous, by the way. She's fantastic. But she was then able to add the automation into a sound process. So that's what these companies are doing differently, and that's what I want to encourage you today to be thinking about what you could do. They're also deploying agents that are actually acting, not just acting as not just dashboards that observe. They're actually taking physical actions. They're investing in the infrastructure, not just the app. So we're probably all guilty of this. Oh, that app, squirrel, distraction, that app looks really great. Let's give that a try. Let's go and do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, hang on a second, what problem were we trying to solve in the first place? Because it's just the next shiny thing, right? So you want to be thinking about the infrastructure of your business, not just the app. And then of course measuring trust and so on. So you can see that's just some insight for you around, well, what is the 1% doing differently to actually start to get traction from AI? Because it's great to talk about it, but really we're all in business to obviously grow and obviously to create legacies and build incredible companies, but there's also a very real commercial reality that has to be achieved amongst that, right? So, who is doing media advertising? Who's running maybe Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even from an organic point of view? Have we got some? Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. So we've got some people in the room. So what I want to do is I just want to give you a sense check on what has changed in this space, because this is probably one of the largest consumer shifts. So what's happening now is you're no longer actually marketing to humans first. You have to get past the algorithm first. So the algorithm is now judging every single social media post, whether it's organic or paid, that you put out. So they are controlling who sees it, when they see it, and whether it's actually worth amplifying. So the point that you have to accept is that you might create this incredible creative, this fantastic ad that your audience never sees, just because you didn't meet the new criteria of the media advertising platforms and what they require. So right now, as it stands, 90% of content that is delivered out via social medias is algorithmically controlled. So in every major platform, that means distribution is controlled by invisible AI systems, no longer marketers. So a year, 2 years ago, we were controlling it. We were controlling the targeting, the audience, the way in which who that message would go to. Now the algorithm is the gatekeeper before you even get to overlay some of those targeting. And if you can't meet the criteria, the new criteria set, you might be left wondering, well, why are my ads not getting any traction? Why have my impressions gone down? Why am I not getting any engagement? It's because your ads are now literally invisible. They are not being served because the algorithm has said they're not good enough. So you can see, and each platform is taking a slightly different approach on the way in which they manage this. So Facebook and Instagram, their entire feed is algorithmically prioritized based on the content scoring. And I'm going to take you through the elements that they're actually scoring you on specifically, so that you can get a feel for what that is and you can fix it. TikTok is 100% AI curated. YouTube, 70% of views come from recommended videos, not what you search. And you guys will see that. Like if you're on YouTube and you get distracted and 10 minutes goes by, you've just watched 5 cat videos, you can see how effective those algorithms are. And then programmatic media, which has always been quite forward on this, their algorithms are bid, test, adjust, which is pretty standard. And now with Google, with SGE, so search generative experience, these are now AI generated answers. So you'll see, all of you will see in your Google feeds, the first thing that comes up is your AI overview now. So that's even before the paid search results. So now what you need to be thinking about, and one of the best things that you can do is go and fix your CMS, so the back end of your CMS, and make sure that your H1 tags are optimized for AI overview, yeah? Because one, yes, it's going to take a bit of work, but it's free to do, okay? So you want to be thinking it's not just SEO anymore, it's GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, okay? So there's things that you can do to start to make those improvements without having to get like an SEO agency or something like that in the door, okay? So that's what's shifting. Making sense so far? Cool. Okay, so when we get into the algorithms and we think about the social media platforms, what's happening specifically, this is specific to social media. You are being, as I said before, you're being judged by the algorithm before you even get the opportunity to meet or speak to your consumer. What is happening is the algorithm is judging you on several things. Engagement velocity, so the main one is engagement velocity, so how many likes, comments you receive within the first hour. If you don't get any engagement, the algorithm says this content is not worthy of being seen, and then therefore it basically buries it in the world of like what I call AI slop and content that never meets the light of day. Actually, AI slop is an actual term that has been coined in 2025 along with a lot of others. So that's the first part, is get those early likes and engagement. The second part is the retention and attention time. So the first point is now you have less than 2.5 seconds to capture your audience's attention. That's the first piece. And it's going down. It's like, it's going to be within the next year, probably 1 second. It's the attention economy. So you really have to make sure that you nail that first up. Then you've got, once you've caught the attention, well, how do you now keep the attention? So the longer you can keep the hovering around that ad, the more likely you're going to get these scores up so that people will actually, in your audience, see your ad. The creative diversity, so if you've got what's happening now, the platforms, the biggest challenge for brands, and especially small teams, is the social media platforms are hungry for content, super hungry for content. And every single platform is expecting you to have a platform first approach. So they want the best for Meta, the best for TikTok, the best for Snapchat, and so on. So the biggest challenge is, well, how could you possibly realistically, within the 168 hours we all have available to us in a week, actually have a chance at creating those variations and cut downs. So the brands that do are being rewarded because they've got more volume, so they've got more chances. I'll just make sure that we've got Hayley Blair. We're going to let her in. Let's do it. Cool. Excellent. Welcome, Hayley. And then we've got relevancy scores. So this is then trained from the user behaviour. So the interesting thing is because of all of this AI slop, bad influences and that kind of thing, the platforms can't rely on the content providers to judge what is good content. So they have to rely on the user behaviour to be able to do that. So that's what's really shifting. So the new rule, if you just look at this to bring this all full circle, you've got the creative will train the algorithm, the signals will steer it, and then the speed will scale it. So when I say signals, and this is just the shift that's happened, is that now, like what I said before, because the social media platforms can't trust the content providers, they have to get the signals. So a signal could be hovering over an ad. A signal could be engagement. A signal could be scroll. All these different signals that both the social media platforms and Google are collecting in billions and trillions of data points to be able to then inform what's worthy of showing and what's not. So this is really quite a big wake-up call for a lot of brands, and it's also a lot of answers to some brands' questions around, well, why is the ad that worked a year ago not now working in this environment? Okay, so what I would really encourage you all to do if you are doing these campaigns is to go and do a review, look at some of these frameworks and these changes, and then really almost do like a bit of an overhaul for your creative for 2026 to make sure that you're meeting these standards. I think, and I was saying, perfection is the poison of profitability. So I am all for high standards, all for delivering the absolute best product, but 80% is enough. That's the 20% doesn't matter, and it's not going to get you the result. And so if you are, and I see founders, and I've been guilty of this, so I'm talking from experience. My perfectionism used to be out of control. I've had some good coaching and I'm slowly getting over it, but I hear you founders when it's like, it's just not right. We have to fix the top right logo because it's not placed correctly or whatever. I understand that sense of perfectionism. This is your brand, your baby. I have 3 kids under 8 and my first baby is still Ultimate Edge. So it's like, baby number 1 is Ultimate Edge and then baby number 2, 3 and 4 are my kids, right? But that essence, it's like, it's like having a kid when you're growing a business and a team. But my point is that what brands are now being rewarded for is just get it done. Do more of it, get it done, get it out, test it, see if it works. Let go of the ego, let go of the perfectionism and just get it out in market, see if it works. And if it doesn't work, everyone's forgotten in 3 seconds and you can all move on and do another one, okay? So this is just a bit of what does this all mean for your posts and a little bit of a recap before we move into the next section. So my point here is reach is earned in every post, it's not inherited. Followers don't guarantee reach. That's the other point, is it used to always be about followers. Now followers have effectively fallen by the wayside and you get the opportunity each time you produce a piece of content, it's a new opportunity. So if you're competing against a brand that has 1 million followers and you've only got 100,000, you now have a much better chance. So for the little guys coming up, they've got a much better chance of getting noticed on social media because it's no longer about, followers, that means we'll follow this way. You're being judged every single time. So that's why I say just do more of it and you're going to learn very quickly around what works and what doesn't. So if you think about, what are the key takeaways here? If you're doing a social media post, hook in the first 2.5 seconds. So make sure that you get that, you capture, you provide value, you give them something, you maybe educate them, you give them a reason to stop scrolling in their feed. That has got to happen within the first 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds to be specific. You've got to make it relevant. So the algorithm won't push your content to everyone, it pushes it to the next person that's likely to care. Okay, so your job is to really understand, and it comes back to like old school marketing. Understand your consumer, understand your persona, understand what they're going to engage with, what they want, so that you can take them on that journey. Quality engagement we spoke about, likes, comments, shares. If you're not getting them, call your friends, ask for a favour. I'm about to post something on LinkedIn. Will you give me some likes? Look, whatever it takes. And then, of course, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, which is important, is cadence. So don't think that the algorithm is not monitoring your cadence. The more you post, the more trustworthy you are going to be seen in the algorithm's eyes. So consistency is important, and then watch throughs, saves, DMs, the other indicators that are going to help your content get noticed. So just if you can just walk away today and just take that part with you, it would have been worth you attending, because then you can do an overhaul of your social media content and you can make sure that you're set up for 2026 to be able to start to get some traction in this space. All good? Yep. Okay, so full stop, new conversation. The media advertising funnel. So this has been a bit of a doozy. So the typical marketing media advertising funnel would be quite linear. So it's never been fully linear, but it's been linear enough where you can drive people from awareness to consideration to intention to conversion. And just so we're clear, because I know everybody defines funnels in a different way, for me, awareness is your impressions, your views, your eyeballs. So where are you going to get your new audience? Consideration is the traffic, so the click that actually happens to come to your landing page. Intention is where we collect data. So we've collected some form of data, whether it's a subscription, a lead form, whatever it might be. There is an intention-driven action, and now we've been able to collect first-party data, and then conversion is where the sale occurs, right? So when I'm looking at a funnel, I want to know exactly what I'm doing at each stage of the funnel, what my metrics are, what my expectations of results are, so that I know I can invest with confidence. Because if I'm going to invest $1 in media advertising, I want to make sure I'm very clear on what I'm going to get out of that dollar in return. So when we look at what has really happened, and Google coined this during sort of 21, 22, they called it decoding the consumer journey. And so what has happened is we've gone from moving through a funnel to now literally moving through a loop, but then also kind of going back up and back down and so on. And so what Google found through a significant piece of research was that at the consideration stage especially, consumers are moving through a loop between exploration and evaluation. And unless you do a good enough job as a brand, most of them are going to get stuck there and they're not going to move on. Okay, so you've got your triggers up the top that are informing this. They go and explore, they evaluate, they explore, they evaluate, but they're getting stuck here. To get them to come out and to actually move to purchase, there has to be an experience. There has to be something compelling. And you actually have to ask yourself, would this be worthy for me? Would this be worthy enough for me to take the next step in the funnel? And if it doesn't pass that test, it's not going to cut it. And any budget that you're spending, you're going to get stuck at the consideration stage of the process. Now, before I go into how the full funnel has changed, part of that also is that the way in which we interact and we engage has completely changed as well. So we went from, and you guys probably feel the same way as I do. I went from 100% in-person meetings, pretty much, pre-COVID. I was doing a few online meetings, but not many, to 100% online. So from 100% in person to 100% online. So that whole world completely changed. Now, over that time has been a deterioration of human contact, human conversations, face-to-face, all that kind of thing. And so, yes, there's been huge advantages. I personally I run in a complete remote business. So my team are in Australia and all over the world. And so I benefit personally from the online business environment. However, there are elements that have completely shifted in the media, advertising and marketing space as a result. And of course, the amount of time we are now consuming content on our phones as well. So what has shifted is, in order for someone to discover your brand or your business, they have to go through this framework. So what that means is they have to see 7 hours of content, have 11 different interactions with you, over 4 different platforms, across 90 days. So this is the new framework. I know. And it's like, how are they going to see 7 hours of content? But if you think about it, they're engaging short form. It's 90 seconds here, 30 seconds here. So you think about the people that you follow online or the brands that you follow online. If you were to add that up over 90 days, you're probably getting close to some of these numbers, yeah? And this is just to build the trust, the familiarity, and to be fully recognizable to your consumer. This is, I know you, I like you, I trust you, now I will potentially choose you. So that's really what we're working with here, and this is just at the awareness stage. So the word of 2025, anyone know what the word of 2025 is? Close. Parasocial. So parasocial is the word of 25. Now, a parasocial relationship has been coined out of this digital world that we now live in. So if you think about, the best example I can give you, think about maybe an influencer, a thought leader, or a podcast that you follow and you watch quite regularly, their content. So just for ease sake, let's just use Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. So let's say that you are consuming a lot of his content. You feel like you're speaking to him every day. You're not. He's speaking to you, but you actually feel like you've built a relationship to the point where if you walked up to him in the street, you would almost give him a hug because he's so involved in your world. That's the parasocial relationship. So if you as a brand, or especially as a founder, a lot of founders in the room that are having these conversations, if you can have that relationship with your audience where you're speaking to them, delivering them value, educating them on a consistent basis, having not met them, you've now created the value of a parasocial relationship where they feel, and it's so entrenched in what you're doing. I've been doing content now for probably about 18 months, but really properly and consistently, probably for about the last 8 to 9 months. If I am out at an event, I will now have people come up to me and say, hey, like literally greet me, and I haven't either met them or seen them in a long time, and they will instantly, the rapport that we have, the trust, the feeling is so much different to, oh, hang on, what was your name again? I haven't seen you in 15 years. So that's a really important point there, and especially for you guys, founders in the room, if you're doing this stuff, you want to think about leveraging that framework. So what does that look like in the funnel? What it now looks like is at the top of this funnel, so at the awareness stage of the funnel, you've now got your you've got it three parts. You've got your short form content. So that's what, like all the little 60, 90 second snippets. You've then got, which we haven't spoke about yet, third-party collaborations. So now with everything that's changing in the media advertising, the social media space, what's come back is the value of real trust, real, what's the word I'm looking for? Authority and credibility. Okay, so if you can build at the awareness stage of the funnel really strong third-party collaborations, by association, you're going to be trusted. So for example, in July, I spoke at Salesforce. I spoke about what's changing in the media advertising and marketing world and how that is impacting CMOs and marketing managers in their day-to-day thoughts, process, and implementation. Okay, so that was a third-party collaboration at the top of the funnel where I was building credibility by my association with Salesforce. So what you want to think about there is what are the complementary brands, non-competing brands, but the complementary brands that you can associate with at the awareness stage of the funnel to start to build some of this trust if you can't get the 7 hours of content done. Because I get it, it's a big ask, right? So you need to think about, okay, what can I do across here that is within that 7-11, 490 framework. So that's just at the awareness stage. That's just to get their attention, just to start to build some trust and some familiarity. Now we get into that loop that I was telling you about, exploration, evaluation. This is where now you can start to open up a little bit more of longer form content. So you can now start to get into the content, the editorials, the educations, the webinars, the articles, and that kind of thing. Like let's take Willow, for example. I was looking at a little bit of their short form content because I was telling James about how impossible it is for me to keep plants alive. And when he told me, and just basic stuff, just basic plants in the house, trying to keep them alive. And he was telling me about Willow, and so I was like, this is fantastic. I'm going to get this thermometer, and I'll be able, this tool and app, and I'll be able to understand what I need to do. Like, I need like 5th grader instructions, like move the plant to the right, put water in the plant, don't put water in the plant. But my point is, that's a whole bunch of short form content. Now, some of the content I watched was actually adding value to my life without buying. So I was getting a ton of education, ton of value. Oh, I didn't realize these things mattered. At the top of the funnel, okay? Now, if they went out and had a third-party collaboration and did that with, a non-competing brand in that space, that's just going to continue to build that trust. So then, obviously, back to the consideration stage, education, webinars, articles. So for me, if we just use the Willow example, I might actually watch a little webinar on the type of plants that I should have in the house, or if I have really open sunlight house, what would be, and I've got sun streaming in all day, what would be some really nice plants? Actually, in my downtime, I might actually be quite interested, and that might be quite nurturing and almost meditative for me to do. So you have to think about, okay, what's value I can create here? We're not selling to them here. We're creating value. What is it that they need to know? What is it that they don't know? What is it that I could tell them that would really add value to their life? What is it that they may be doing in the home? Like when you're trying to put, plants up maybe in an outdoor setting, what's the best to think about shade and think about light and all that kind of thing. Add value at this stage of the funnel. Now, once you've kind of gone from awareness to consideration, now you're in intention. So this one-to-one and this one-to-many, this is now, because some of you will sell one-to-one, very almost like a consultative approach, but then others will be one-to-many, which would be mass market, right? So you're not really having that individualized conversation. So depending on where they are, this is where you start to engage and start to attract your data, and then of course through to the conversion stage of the funnel. So really where the heavy lifting, if you want to grow, if you want to scale, the heavy lifting really gets done now at the top of the funnel. My advice to up-and-coming businesses in the room, if you nail, and it's a conversation for another day, but I'm just going to give you the short version. If you think about your consumer funnel, think about the way people move through your funnel and the sales steps that they go through in order to buy from you. Yeah, so it might be impression, click, lead, they might do a webinar, they then might fill in a form and then they purchase from you. Or it might be e-commerce where it's impression, click, product view, add to cart, sale. So just think about the process that they go through. Now at each stage of that funnel, if there's like 5 or 6 different steps, each stage of that funnel is an opportunity for them to drop off, right? So it's just drop off, drop off, drop off. So you start with 10 million impressions at the top, you might end up with 100 sales at the bottom. If you can nail this part of your funnel, This is what we did with the Vault. It's like, okay, look at this. What is happening in your funnel? How are people moving through your funnel? Where are they dropping off? Let's fix a few things. Let's fix this process because there's too much leakage. Fix that process. Now, once that process is fixed, one, you've unlocked a lot of revenue. Depending on the scale and the size of your business, you can unlock revenue that you wouldn't have otherwise achieved. Now you can use that revenue to reinvest at the top of the funnel because, yeah, this stuff does cost a bit of money to do and you need to have the funds to do it. Okay, so but if you fix this part, get the sales in, now you can reinvest at the top of the funnel. Then you start to create that self-funding campaign loop where whatever you make at the bottom goes back in to the top, right? And then over time you can scale that, or it's a new term, blitz scale that is the new term. So that's the media side of things. Creative. So who is producing or doing quite a lot of creative, whether that's landing pages, whether that's ads, that kind of thing. I would say most of you would be doing some form of this. What is really interesting about the creative space is how quickly the AI tools have caught up to be, in my view, incredibly impressive. We produced our first fully AI executed campaign in December last year. Took a lot of effort, but it was really good. We had to use 3 or 4 different tools because at this point they hadn't all been integrated, but we're able to take a $50,000 cost, take that down to a $25,000 cost. This was quite a mass production across sort of 6 different media advertising channels. And it was, an animated character. But that was what we were able to do 12 months ago. Now what you can do is incredible. So I just want to show you this little clip. This clip is produced, and we won't watch the full 4 minutes, but we'll watch a minute to appreciate it. This has been purely from Google VO prompts. Okay, so we'll take a look. Let's see if I can play it.
All right, so today's lesson is on prompt theory, which is the theory that everything you do has been prompted by a higher power.
No, seriously, have any of you ever felt like your choices don't matter? Like the idea of free will is really all an illusion?
They're calling it the prompt theory. That there is
one superior being,
yes,
writing our stories from a higher dimension.
Yeah.
The prompt theory is not real.
How do you know?
Look, all I'm saying is, if the prompt theory is real,
Yeah.
can the prompter please send me a husband?
I mean, I got way too much risk for the prompt theory to not be real.
We found patterns in our universe, like syntax, cosmic grammar. So yes,
We all may be prompts.
We ran tests on over 14 million realities, and I can confirm that the prompt theory is true.
So if the prompt theory is real, why can't I get a day off work?
Bruh, if we are all...
So I'll share that video with you afterwards, but what I wanted to show you there was that was done 6 months ago, okay? So that was the quality of the VO prompts at that point. What's been coming out in the last 4 months, sorry, I misspoke, the last 4 weeks, in terms of what can be done in this space is incredible. Any of you that are using, I don't know if any of you have started using AI avatars to really now start to fully leverage the value of that in terms of explainer videos and that kind of thing. Like, think about if you've got a portal and you've got, if you guys are, for example, at Hey Lady, if you're doing training videos or, pronunciation videos or whatever it might be, having to get a human to do that is actually quite, one, exhausting, and 2, costly. Leveraging some of these platforms now like Synthesia AI and so on, you can really explode that quite quickly just with scripts and scripts prompting in. So my point here is that if you can get across some of these tools, start to reduce your creative costs, you're going to be in a really good position. And what I'm going to take you through now is sort of the path to start to get creative leverage. Because right now, the stat out of Adobe is only 10% of brand creative is ever reused. So that means 90% of your investment dies on the vine. And this is typical in campaign cycles. So you go on and you invest in the campaign, you do the idea, you do the shoot, it looks great, you're really happy, super proud of it, and then you never reuse it again. And then people change and people come and go, and then a year later you spent $50,000 on a piece of creative and it's only been used once. So this is really what is costing brands the most. Now, for a long time, it was like, yeah, we kind of know, but we don't really want to touch that subject. Now, because the platforms are so hungry for creative, it's now become a sticking point. And what the biggest challenge for brands right now, they can't produce creative fast enough to meet the platform demand. So that we've now had a crossroads where it can no longer be ignored, and we need efficiency because things aren't getting easier. They're naturally, cost of acquisition and everything is going up. So companies need to find efficiency. Where can they find efficiency? In reusing existing creative assets. But more importantly, the breakthrough here is taking existing creative assets, consolidating them all into one platform, a data management platform, which will, data asset management platform, which we'll get to. Having all of those assets, tone of voice, brand guidelines, all in the one place, then leveraging AI to create iterations of that. Does that make sense? So if you take all of your best creative, take your 10 best creative executions for the past 12 months, overlay that with your brand guidelines, your tone of voice, then leverage the AI platforms to create the variations of that. The more, it's like a good brief. The better the brief, the better the output. It's the same here. The better the creative assets in, the better leverage you can get going forward. And this will be, lost the presentation, hang on. This will be game changing. Sorry, team. Don't know what happened there. We're back, excellent. This will be, my belief is this will be game changing for a lot of brands going forward. So I'm going to take you through sort of the specifics of this now so that you can get a feel. So if you know that, let's just say, and this is good timing, right, because we're in December. So if you think about 2026 and you think now about all the different platforms you're going to need. So that might be your website, you might have some landing pages, you might have some physical collateral, like we still have like a traditional corporate profile kind of thing, that still needs to be created and updated and so on. Maybe you've got some social media platforms and that kind of thing. You now need to think, okay, what is it that I'm going to need in advance? Of that, how many cut downs am I going to need? What is it that I need to get ahead on now? I need to be thinking out from the beginning. So that's the first step. The reason why this is so important, if you know that you're going to have 3 campaigns coming up next year that are really important, you know that there is going to be 4 different platforms that you are going to run those campaigns, website, social, email, whatever it might be. Now, when you go to step 2 and you start to build the creative assets and you start to do the shoot and all that kind of thing, you know exactly what you're going to require. Now, this was important 2 years ago. It's even more important now because if you can create, at the shoot stage, if you can create the right style assets. So Lewis today says to me, and my team do this, and so I was a bit stuck, but he says to me, Aleisha, what do we need? Do we need to do portrait, landscape, all that kind of thing? And I know that I'm going to need, because I start here across website, email, landing page, I want to provide this to you afterwards, so I'm going to need a nice landscape view. That has already been thought about in advance. So now this content that we're creating here today, the generic stuff is going to be leveraged for the next 12 months. Yeah, in short forms and all that kind of thing, because I'm beginning with the end in mind and I'm thinking. So I won't go anywhere now. So all of my presentations, just to give you guys some context about how serious I am about this stuff, I will not go anywhere without a video. Because I cannot afford to be in a room or to be somewhere and not have that captured so that we can use that across different platforms in moving forward because of the demand of what I'm telling. So I'm not just saying this, I'm literally practicing what I preach, and I say this to all my clients as well, is you've got to make sure, it's like Jay Abraham, best marketer, old school marketer from the 80s. Get everything you can out of everything that you've got. And as founders, especially on small budgets, you have got to be acting with this kind of relentlessness to leverage absolutely everything you can from everything that you've got. Yeah? Third part is now, once I know these 2 things, now how could I centralize all creative assets in what we call a Gen AI library? So this is where your data asset management platform comes in. So there's great platforms like Binder and a few others that I'll share after the presentation. But even in Google Drive, if you're just using the Google platform and you can just get your Google Drive set up right and have all of your creative assets in one place, now with the integration between Canva and Google and others, you can actually get some of that leverage by even what Canva Magic is doing now. You can get that leverage from your existing creative assets. So if you just do these things, you're going to be able to save some of those costs on your creative execution. Then what you can do is you can start to plug into AI. So you can start to plug, if you've got a data asset management platform, you can start to plug that into some of the AI platforms, get some creative generated. And again, guys, this is just the cost of your subscription. This is not, you've got to pay extra money for. Yes, I know they're going to start charging maybe cost per usage and that kind of thing, but at this stage, they're not. Yeah, so this is out of your existing subscriptions that you are currently using in your businesses. And then finally, you launch, you learn, you loop, yeah? And then you keep that iterative process until you get the results that you want. Now, some of you probably are wondering, what is a digital asset management platform? And why is it important? So this term has really it's been around for quite a while, but it's really become mission critical as we move into this new world of AI and we need to get leverage from our existing creative. Okay, so what we need here is we really need this platform, and again, you can use Google Drive as your digital asset management platform as a starting point. Then if you want to go slightly more enterprise, you might use something like Binder, and then if you're now, the next Canva, you're going to be on a Salesforce or a Microsoft or an Adobe, right? So this is really key because it will store all of your creative, giving you one single source of truth and giving your agencies one single source of truth. So for one of the, and the reason this is important, for one of the recent Vault campaigns, I went and I trawled through the last 5 years of content. And it's like, right, there's got to be stuff in here that you guys have done, or you've done one shoot or whatever it might be, consolidated all of that, and that was our launch campaign coming into July, August, September, because we had to get dollars in the bank account and runs on the board, yeah? So it was right, how can we leverage this efficiency to get to where we need to go? Now, what I love about my expectation is that by March 2026, there are going to be solutions for small to medium-sized companies in this space. So just wait a little bit and you'll know my expectation is early next year. Outside of just using Google Drive, which you can do, there are going to be something available between Binder, Google Drive. There'll be something in here for this market because it's just got to happen. So once you've got all of your assets in one place, then you can tag and organize them by metadata. So you might say, okay, this is my collections campaign, this is for my pearl jewelry, and this is for this launch, right? And so it's all tagged individually. Then you've got control, access, permissions, all that kind of thing, tracking usage, integrating with AI tools. So this part is, and I think I've got a diagram for this that's way easier. My message to you here, like if you say, Aleisha, well, this is all great, but what's the one takeaway? Is if you can just start to get your creative assets, both current ones and maybe for the last 3 or 4 years that you've used, get them in and upload them into a centralized place. Yeah, so you've got everything. Then also in here, you've got your brand DNA, your tone of voice, and any specific brand guidelines. Just upload them here. Then, once you've done a little bit of human tagging and the AI learns what to do, you can now auto-tag those with AI. You have to train the AI first. But once you've trained the AI, now you can auto-tag with AI. Then you can organize by campaign, by format. Then you can train AI, or you can plug into Gen Studio for Adobe, or maybe Canva, or another creative platform that you're using. Then you can, this is the catch, then you can auto-generate the variants for social video display. And when I say auto-generate, I mean literally within a few minutes, you can have those iterations done. That is the value of beginning with the end in mind and getting everything you can out of everything that you've got. This, to me, for companies in 2026, if you ask me what are the things that are going to need to be focused on, this, if you haven't got this in place by mid-2026, you will get left behind because you just won't be able to keep up with the sheer pace of and the demand of the platforms and what they're requiring from a creative execution standpoint. Yeah? And then the next thing, and I put this in for you guys because I think this is really relevant for the size of businesses and the stage of business that you are in. What I encourage you to do, and even if you've got a designer that's working with you either part-time or full-time or whatever it might be, get in and start to leverage some of the in-platform capabilities. So even if you don't have a digital asset management platform, you can actually get into the creative studios within each of the platforms to rapidly produce some of these variations. So TikTok Symphony is obviously one, Creative Studio within Meta, Performance Max for Google. So if anyone's running Google ad campaigns now, you can literally automate the generation of those key headlines. So there is, especially with your responsive search ads and that kind of thing. So the platforms know how demanding this is on brands. And so they're coming up with solutions, which again, they will soon charge for, and there'll be a subscription fee or whatever. But right now, most of them are free. Yeah?
Question is, because we actually had someone come a couple of months ago,
Yep.
absolutely hated Performance Max, told us to never use it. Do you think anything changed or just different opinions?
I would run very fast away from that piece of advice. Again, Performance Max is very broad. Now, Performance Max works best in a Google Shopping environment within the specific units within that platform. Performance Max, in my view, has been the best, one of the best performers across all of our media advertising campaigns. Now, we've done plus or minus $50 million worth of advertising, generated $200 million in sales for our clients. There are no campaigns I am running right now without Performance Max, to give you an indication.
And when you go and you set up all of your campaigns, do you leverage as much AI as possible, or do you, because you can like let them do it, or you can manually pick stuff, just leverage whatever they want?
No, it's a great question, and thank you for reminding me. That's an awesome question. So, and this is from a media advertising point of view, giving the AI, especially within the Google platform, too much reign can be risky. Now, the reason is simple. In Google, you always set your conversion goals. So let's just say I am working with a home loan business and my conversion goal is lead, right? And so I want to get as many leads as humanly possible. And I've got all of my targeting in place. The AI algorithm will then go off to find all of the maximum conversions at the lowest possible costs. But now I've got people coming through that are on Centrelink and can't get a home loan. That's the risk. Yeah, so what you have to do is you have to leverage the AI, monitor it, refine it, and have your feedback loop in place. So if you've got your feedback loop in place to know, okay, those leads were good leads or those leads weren't, you're okay. But if you don't and you just let the AI loose, you are going to have, and that might have been why this person has said, don't use Performance Max, because they haven't got the guardrails in place. So you've got to have the guardrails and the logic in place to be like, right, what am I trying to achieve? What's my problem? And what is the outcome? And that could be, well, to give this person credit, that could be, well, what happened was just the guardrails weren't in place, because without the feedback loop, letting the AI loose is very dangerous. And it's often where companies, especially at the beginning of this year, there were a few companies that came to me and said, Aleisha, our cost per acquisition have gone through the roof. Like, it's just ridiculous. And a lot of it was because Google was updating these AI algorithms in the background, not really communicating what was going on, and then people were figuring it out as they went, and it was costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I hope that answers your question. And we've been through this part. Okay, e-commerce businesses in the room. Who is an e-commerce business, full e-commerce business? I know we've got a couple online that are e-commerce businesses. Okay, if you're an e-commerce business, this is going to be very cool. If you are not an e-commerce business, this is probably going to be even better, because it will show you how you can e-commerceify your business. New word I just coined today, e-commerceify. So, the digital customer experience. This is probably, if I think about what I'm most excited about, this part is definitely the part that gets me out of bed in the morning in terms of the consumer journeys and what we're going to create from a customer experience point of view. What I'm most excited about right now is the fact that the technology has caught up to what we can dream up and what we can think up as humans. So for a long time, I'd be sitting down with founders or marketers and they'd be like, I want to do this and I want to go down this direction, it's going to be great. But the technology wasn't able to underpin and allow them to actually do it. Now what's shifted is the technology has come such a long way that anything you want to do, I've got clients calling me, hey Aleisha, I just created this app with vibe coding. Okay, hang on a second, send it to me, let me have a look, and then they're actually pretty good. Like they're little widgets and little consumer interaction driven things that are amazing. Anyway, Aleisha, stay focused. Digital consumer experience. If you think about going through a typical consumer journey, typically there is always points of friction, always points of frustration. It's very rare that you walk out of somewhere and you just have this ultimate customer experience. If I do, I go and find the owner or I find the company and I literally like applaud them, right? So, and every now and then I've been known to have an awful experience and then literally hunt down the people, send them a video and be like, fix this, because it was so bad, just to pay it forward. Anyway, we've spent years, and typically in my space, working strategically with businesses, I've spent years trying to remove friction through the funnel, trying to remove friction at the checkout, because I know vividly aware of the amount of commercial output is there if you just fix these things through the funnel. I'm talking, millions of dollars of additional sales. So what is now happening is we're moving to conversational commerce. So you go through an e-commerce experience, but now you can have a human experience. And I want to show you this video because I just love it. And I think it's a great representation of what is achievable. So just to set the scene while this loads, this is a live demo happening at, I'm sure it's probably at a Salesforce conference. And it's showing how you get human interaction via an e-commerce experience without the annoying live chat that we've all been dealing with for like the last 3 years. So there we go.
So I thought I've seen that all this is, by the way.
Okay, must be about here.
Could you help me with that?
I can definitely help with that, Patrick. To give you the best recommendations, could you show me the plants you bought? I can take a look and help you choose the best soil and fertilizer. I'm sending a video request to your browser now. Great, I can see you. Just hold the plants up to the camera so I can help identify them.
Yeah, so I have about 40 of these in various different colors.
Those are beautiful petunias. They're a great choice for vibrant color. Let me take a closer look at the items in your cart. Okay, I see you have standard potting soil and general purpose fertilizer.
That could work. The petunias really thrive in a rich, well-draining soil, and a fertilizer specifically for flowering plants.
Okay, I found some recommendations for your petunias.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at these now. They look fantastic. Thanks.
Great! Would you like me to remove the standard potting soil and general purpose fertilizer and add the Blue Booster potting mix and Flower Power fertilizer to your cart?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, I've updated your cart. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
I mean, not unless you can come over and plant these for me.
Funny you should mention that. We actually do offer professional landscaping services. Would you be interested in a quote?
Yeah, I mean, how much would something like that cost?
For planting 40 petunias, I would suggest a 4-hour appointment, which would come out to $200.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm curious, do you also price match?
Yes, we do price match on occasion, but it's usually on a case-by-case basis.
Well, in that case, I most definitely saw an ad from one of your competitors, Greenscapes, where they were offering 50% off first-time landscaping services for new customers. You should totally give me that 50% discount.
Apologies, but it looks like that amount is beyond what I'm authorized to approve. Let me check with my supervisor to see what we can do. Just a moment.
So I'm going to step away from being the human user in this conversation for a moment, and we're going to go behind the scenes over here to our call center. And so what you're going to see here in our CRM Salesforce is that our virtual assistant, our virtual agent, has escalated up to a human call center manager, also played by me. And what I can do here is guide the agent through this portion of the conversation without fully taking over the conversation. So you can see here, Patrick is requesting a price match for 50% off offer, and I'll say something like, we can't do that, but we can do 20. So we can 20% instead. And I'm going to send this message, and then we're going to pick up the conversation on the other side.
Good news, Patrick. My supervisor has approved the discount. We can offer you 20% off our landscaping services. I've applied a 20% discount to the landscaping services.
Okay, it might cut off there, but you get my drift, right? I couldn't find, there's the original version of 2 minutes 30 on Twitter, but I couldn't embed it in the presentation. But you get my point. So this whole world of conversational e-commerce where I can now go and do my typical e-commerce checkout, but any moment of friction, I can then be guided through the experience. Now, this is just an example of a Salesforce CRM integration. Now, the way, just with what Salesforce has done recently with introducing Agentforce, they're now overlaying this in their different environments, right? And it's becoming, what I've been quite impressed with is that it's starting to, I'm a Salesforce customer, so it's actually starting to be more cost effective if you can use it properly. So anyway, my point here is if you can just imagine the future of e-commerce in this world where this is now going to be the new consumer expectation, I can now go through, so if I even just think about makeup products, right? And I'm now online on Mecca, no discounts, but I'm online on Mecca buying whatever I need. Now I'm stuck. I've been using this foundation, but I'm not sure which one is going to give me, a better result, or maybe I'm not hydrated enough, or whatever it might be. And if I can have that, solve that problem right away, I'm going to go through and purchase. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go in store, figure it out, and then it's 2 months before I purchase. The instantaneous response that you can now get, now it's going to take brands a year to roll this, probably 5 years for most brands, but a year for the good brands to start to roll this out. But this is where it's going to go. We're at my fingertips as a consumer. So if you can think about the way in which you could do this, because the technology is not going to be your problem anymore. It's not going to be, the systems don't integrate, the technology doesn't work. Within the next 12 months, that's not going to be an issue. It's going to be how effectively can you do this to create this ultimate experience to reduce friction through the funnel and unlock millions of dollars in revenue that you are currently leaving on the table. If I came in and did a diagnostic on each of your businesses, I promise you, I would find anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million in revenue at a minimum. To, here we go, just let James in, at a minimum to unlock, yeah? So that is where we want to be going. All making sense? Coming together, media, creative.
Just sounds exhausting.
I know, trust me, every day I'm spent. I get to the end of the day and my head hits the pillow, I am gone. Because I'm doing this stuff every single day in businesses, overcoming, all the challenges and all the people stuff that you have to get through to get some of this stuff implemented. And it's relentless, right? So my energy levels have to be through the roof for a reason, because, you start the day with your bucket full and by the end of the day, there's nothing left. So point is, you've got to start the day with a really full bucket. But is it kind of piece, even if it's just in pieces right now, that's okay. I can deal with that because it will kind of start to come together.
Sorry, I'm doing
Yep, all good. No, okay.
Do you have any comments on this for B2B? Because we actually have two B2Bs.
Yep. The B2B, and I'm B2B as well, right? So I see this being achievable for B2B. So we're working with a company right now in the compliance space. It's heavy stuff. Anyway, there's this new thing called Tranche 2, and they all have to get anti-money laundering and know your customer and know your business, all of those kind of data verifications. Anyway, they have a unique opportunity, which as a marketer I love. There is a deadline July 1st where every business has to be compliant. And there's 80,000 of these businesses that have to be compliant by July 1st. Now, we're doing this right now we're literally building all the workflows, everything right now for B2B. So businesses are going to come in, they're going to go through their landing page experience, answer their questions, blah, blah, blah. They're then going to sign up to get compliant, and then they're going to get in, start using the platform, be prompted in this way, and then they're going to be signing up to ongoings 3 months later. So this for me, I don't care if it's B2B, B2C, this to me is the new way to be able to reduce friction in the funnel. And yes, there's still going to be people that come in, there's still going to be those human interactions, but this kind of convenience, especially in 12 months from now, is going to be game changing. So I would be thinking, my point to you is I would be thinking this way for B2B, because I'm thinking exactly the same. I've created an experience for marketers and CMOs and founders, a digital experience where they come through, they go through a series of quizzes and interactions and learning more about themselves and their marketing style and blah, blah, blah. to then come through into a get the edge experience where I take them through what we do for businesses digitally. So that's what we're building right now, because my belief is this is where we're going to need to be in the next 12 months. So how can we bridge the gap? Most of this stems from your base, your foundation, which is your marketing technology stack. Now, for the good news is, for most of you having run founder-led businesses and obviously in the startup space, hopefully you're not too committed to too many of the platforms that you're using. And if you are, hopefully they're firing, right? Because this is fundamentally one of the biggest restrictions to scale when you're trying to get into a business and scale something quickly, right? So we'll always go in, right, where are the quick wins? Where can we unlock the revenue opportunities and that kind of thing? And then it's right, okay, if we're going to the next level, let me look at this thing. Let me lift the lid and let's check out your marketing technology stack, because this is the foundation in which everything stems from, especially from a growth and an automation point of view. So my point here to brands always is that you can't build a smart home on a cracked foundation. So your marketing technology stack in your business is the base in which everything, the foundation in which everything is built upon. So you want to make sure that when you look at your short-term and your long-term game, in your long-term strategic business planning, you're thinking about what is the marketing technology stack that I'm going to need to lay the correct foundations for what I'm going to need in 3 to 5 years from now. And if you do that and you can think ahead with that futuristic foresight, you will put yourself in the best possible position. Now, if you are dealing with a disjointed marketing technology stack where you do feel like there are literally band-aids holding together the two systems, or one system is not talking to the other system, or in your infinite wisdom, when you first started the business, you decided that you would build a custom platform from scratch, they're my favourite, and sometimes it's required. Not all the time, but sometimes it's required. So what I encourage you to do, and especially over this new year break, obviously take a break, that's important, but also look at your marketing technology stack and really ask yourself, are my systems doing the work that I need them to? So for example, at a very basic level, is my CRM properly integrated with my website? Is my CRM collecting all of the data points that I'm collecting on my website in the right structure, so that when I have first-party data, it's segmented correctly and I can leverage it? There's some of the really basic starting points that you can start to think about. And then, okay, if I have got multiple platforms, and if you've got 4 or 5 different platforms between, your website, your CRM, your email platform, your SMS platform, and maybe a couple of others, if you're sitting at that sort of +5 different platforms, that's okay. All I would do is I would just encourage you to explore for some consolidation. Is there a subscription here that maybe could do 2 or 3 things instead of using all of the other platforms? And often what will happen, and the stats are like, only 25% of platform capabilities in marketing technology are actually used. So 75% is just wastage. So my point there is that if you can just look at that strategically and go, okay, what is it that I actually require and why am I using this platform? And then is it getting me the result I need? The answers are going to come to you pretty quickly around how to set this up and how to get this base right. So this obviously is like a example of just a very basic sort of old school marketing technology stack built off Microsoft Dynamics from a POS point of view, Magento from a website CMS, and so on. So this is like just sort of like a pre-state and then obviously a post-state when you go, okay, well, what does that look like? So what I again would encourage you all to do is just get this the best way to do is just draw this out. Is go, okay, what are my various platforms? What's integrating with what? Where are the gaps? This system isn't talking to this system, or there's only a one-way feed on this system, whatever it might be, to then be able to get to a place where you go, okay, I've now got my data in the right place, I've got my platforms in the right place, and I have either the two-way data feed or I've got one-way, depending on what you require. But it's how are people moving through my marketing technology stack, and am I ticking all the right boxes? What are the boxes for marketing technology, I hear you ask? This is sort of like your ultimate marketing technology stack. Now, you do not need all of these elements, okay? But all I'm going to do today is I just want you to leave with having a good indication about what you need to be thinking about, the various layers and the roles, so that especially for you guys as you're building, you're scaling these businesses, right? Like right now, where your business is not where it's going to be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years time from now, because you're in that high growth space. You've started something with the belief, you've got investors on board to now help you scale this infrastructure. So you have to be thinking about this longer term scenario. So most of you will have sort of this customer data layer, the foundation in place. My belief is I am working with companies, huge company, like, anywhere from doing, $3 or $4 million a year in revenue right through to hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue. And some of these companies are still working off I had a company just 3 months ago that was still using a spreadsheet for this space. So don't get caught up in where you are right now. You would be surprised at the number of companies I come across that are just not set up in this space. So this foundation, this customer data layer, this to me is the most important part, because if you can get your first party data right and you can get it structured and segmented in a way, you've now got meaningful data that you can monetize. I walked into a business recently, 300,000 people in their database. Hadn't been nurtured, hadn't been used. The first thing we did was segment that out. Okay, where are the leads that have never purchased? So where are the leads that are sitting in the system but haven't really done anything? Who are the people that are currently going through the sales process? Who are the people that have purchased from you but never come back and repeat purchased? Who are the alumni that have purchased once and then just gone off? And then where are the do not contacts and unsubscribe? In a database right now, there are millions of dollars, and again, millions of dollars of unearned revenue that you are not currently getting. If you get your first party data structure right and you segment correctly, you will be able to look for opportunities to win back some of the customers, to get them just to come and purchase one more time, to get people to buy from you who never bought from you but are still in your database. This is, to me, in terms of getting quick wins and getting leverage, the most important part. Okay, and I don't really care at this point where your data sits, it just needs to be in one place. The next step is the commercial core, which is your sales and your CRM. So ideally, that data is sitting in a structured CRM environment, customer relationship management environment, where you've at least got your data in there, it's clean, it's segmented, it's tagged, so that you can start to use it. Because with that, once you've got your CRM there, then you can start to do your email campaigns and that kind of thing. So you can start to do your emails, your SMSs, your comms, whatever it might be. Next layer is the feedback loop, which I'm actually going to share this feedback loop with you because I just think it's so important for all of the businesses in the room just before we wrap up. And that's your measurement, attribution, and your decisioning. Yeah, so whether that is done in the format of dashboards, whether that is in again, it might be in a Google sheet, depending on the way in which you measure your data and how often, it just needs to be there. Then here, really from here is apart from the top, the nice to have. So the connective tissue, that's your AI and automation foundation. So potentially what AI platforms are you now starting to test, starting to use? So we're testing about 4 or 5 different AI tools at the moment, and I'm rotating them literally bi-monthly with the team because I want different insights. Okay, what worked about that? What didn't work? What needs to improve? I'm driving my team crazy, but I know that within the next 6 months, we're gonna land on 2 or 3 really good platforms that we can build the next 2 to 3 years off. Because right now, just so we're clear, in the AI space, we're on the bleeding edge. Whole bunch of companies running to the start line, don't know who's gonna make it. And in 12 to 18 months from now, we're gonna get the new FANGs, the new Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, that kind of thing. But I don't know who that's gonna be right now. So you got hundreds of companies racing to the start line, bleeding edge, losing a ton of money, not very effective, and probably 1% of them will make it. I want to know when we're on the leading edge. The leading edge is your Salesforce, your Microsoft, your Adobe. They're going to be around. I can now encourage my clients to build infrastructure on them, and I know that we're going to be safe and secure going forward. Does that make sense? So it's very easy to get caught up in the hype right now, but trust me, there's a lot of companies that are going to lose a lot of money. Yeah, because it's like, I'm not old enough to be around for the dot-com boom, but everyone I speak to, that's the same feel. Then you've got your intelligence layer, which is really around, okay, in this AI world now, if you've got, 3 or 4 key personas, you can now build this mass personalization. So you can really take that one persona and then build this digital journey in which they go through for mass personalization. Next one is then your digital asset management platform, which we've spoken about. Next one, content creation, creative automation, also spoke about today. Media and execution, spoke about at the beginning. How do you do your media advertising campaigns and so on? And then the front door, which is your website that says, hello world, I am Ultimate Edge Communications. So that, from like a bottoms up, that is kind of all of the things that you would need to be thinking about at this point. But again, this part is really the base. This bottom red part, all red, but the deep red, is the most important. Okay, now let me just do a quick time check. Yep, perfect, we're doing well. Okay, so this really, I've taken you through, this is really just some extra information around the building blocks, but I've taken you through that on that first slide. Okay, so they are probably the most relevant updates that I could give you in terms of walking into 26, this is what you want to know. Is that valuable? Yeah, awesome. What I want to do now is just spend the last sort of 8-9 minutes on, well, that's all great, and that's really fun, Aleisha, and thanks for telling me all about this stuff, but how is this going to make a difference for my business in the coming weeks and coming months? So I just wanted to share a few things with you. So I think the first thing for me, and it really comes back to basics, and I never underestimate the value of, especially for founders, getting crystal clear on what it is that you need to achieve. As a founder, I've personally spent now millions of dollars on my own coaching to ensure that I stay laser focused on the task at hand. What are the top 3 things every single day that need to get done? The rest is just noise. It's what Steve Jobs, and now I think Elon Musk is even better at it, but Steve Jobs was brilliant at it. What are the 3 things that must get done today? Everything else is noise, and we cannot focus on it. And Steve Jobs, from what I understand and from the books, was the best at that typical principle. But you really need to get crystal clear on where you want to go, begin with the end in mind. Great time of year to start to think about, okay, well, what am I actually trying to achieve? Because that's going to inform everything else that I've spoken to you today about. What problem are you actually trying to solve? Once you figure that out, then you're going to be able to look back at this, reflect, and go, actually, yeah, you know what, there's 2 or 3 things there based on my outcomes, based on what I'm trying to achieve, that I'm going to be able to use. So it's like 4 keys to success, right? Know your outcome, take action, find out what works and what doesn't, realign until you achieve number 1. What's number 1? My outcome. Okay, good. Right? That is the crystal clear clarity that you want to go about this with. When it comes to everything I've spoke about, especially leveraging these creative, this is a couple of things I want to share with you because I think they'll be really valuable. When it comes to leveraging all of these creative tools, media advertising tools that I spoke about, I think the one really key thing that you could do today, that all of you could do with yourself, with your partner, with your own teams, is just get really crystal clear on who those personas are. Now, this is an example of the 3 core personas that we have at Ultimate Edge. So we have our Chief Marketing Officer, our Marketing Manager, and our Business Owner. Now, we've mapped these out using qualitative, so what we know, and quantitative, the data, to really understand, okay, well, who are they? So you can see here, Kathy, she's my Chief Marketing Officer. She's 39, she's Sydney-based, she's got national scope, and she's married with kids. I know all about her pain points. I know all about her goals and motivation. I know her needs and desires. I know exactly what that leading statement is that she wants things delivered on time, on budget, according to her specs and expectations, with better quality than she'd expect from her own team. Now, typically when I'm doing this presentation, Kathy comes with me because she's on my wall in my office, right? So she's an A3 framed on my wall. I see her every day, and I, have a running joke that I bring Kathy, with me. Whole packing situation for the number of events that are going on this week, she wasn't able to fit. But this is how the reason I share this with you is, if you can just sit down and get that framework and you can understand those different personas, now when you go to think about the creative campaigns that you're going to need, the email comms that you're going to need, the pages on your website that you're going to need, everything stems from the persona. Because now you know, right, this is what I'm going to need to be able to deliver, to be able to serve this core audience. So I just encourage, it's just a really easy takeaway. And last takeaway that I think will be really valuable for you guys is putting in place with crystal clear clarity your closed feedback loop. Now this is the most, if you were to say, Aleisha, what's the most powerful framework that you've built that has helped your clients succeed? This is the one. And this, if you can get this nailed in all of its simplicity, then anything that you're automating going forward will stem and improve this. So the closed feedback loop really came from my figure skating experience. So as a skater, you would have to go and learn a jump, and so you would learn the basics of the jump, and then you would have to iterate and so on. So you do something, you measure it, you analyze it, you correct it, and you repeat it over and over again until you get the result that you're looking for. Now in figure skating, that just happened to mean that I fell on the hard, cold ice more times than I wanted to, trying to iterate and improve and land the jumps that I wanted to land. But if you think about anything in business, when you've got your qualitative and quantitative input, you can then really start to master the metrics of your business. And as a founder, I know firsthand, if you have got a hold on your numbers, you are going to be a lot more confident and a lot more fast in your decision making, because you're going to go, yep, that's good, yep, that's good, nope, don't go there. Because when you know your numbers and you know how consumers or businesses are moving through your funnel, the decisions become a lot easier, right? And so I encourage all of you to really think about what it is, what are the steps that somebody needs to go through to buy from you, okay? So just as an example, and let's just use a pre-selling services online. You've got impression is the first awareness, session is the click, add to cart is, I've added something to my cart, transaction is I've purchased it. Now, if it's a service, I'm purchasing it and then I'm going to book it. I'm going to book it online, book the service, and then I'm going to go in store or in clinic for my service. Here, all I want you to do is I just want you to think about the steps that somebody needs to go through in order to buy from you. So you might have 6 steps, you might have 18 steps, you might have 5 steps, it doesn't matter. You just want to map these out here so you know exactly how people move through your funnel. Once you've done that, and there's different examples, full e-commerce, service-based businesses. Once you've done that and you go, right, who could tell me right now, and you don't have to answer, but who could tell me right now how many steps they have in their sales process, just off the top of their head? Yep, perfect. So you know how many you've got? Right. So that kind of conviction and that kind of, yep, no problem, that's what you want to know in your sales process. This is everything. This is like the commercial core of any business. Because once you know that, then what you want to know is, okay, well, how are people actually moving through my funnel? So if I've got, if I'm doing 10 million impressions at the top end, and I'm only getting 1% through from impression to session, that means for every 10 million impressions I put out to market, I've only got 100,000 clicks or sessions on my website. Then, if I know my session to add to cart rate is 20%, I've got an 80% drop off, that means for every 100,000 sessions I get, I've got 20,000 add to carts. And then from those 20,000 add to carts, I've got 10,000 transactions, and then from those transactions, I've got 9,500 bookings. So on that basis, let's just say that that's 9,500 sales at $100 transaction value. Now I know as my base, I've got $950,000 in sales. So now as a business owner, as a founder, speaking with investors, having to show these commercial realities, I now know that in this case, there are 6 steps in my sales process. I know exactly how people are moving through the funnel, and I know the drop-off rate at each stage. This is the level of confidence and conviction that you want to have in your business, that you must have in your business to master the commercial metrics and the commercial reality of what you're doing. Just to understand what's happening now, what's my current state. Because then what you can do is once you've got that in place, you can then go, okay, well, where to from here? What could I do? Let's just say you get the same 10 million impressions at the front end. You get the same sessions. So you've got a 1% click-through rate. You've got a 99% drop-off rate. Just so we're clear, media advertising metrics right now, 0.06 is the industry standard from impression to click. If you're doing any better than that, well done. You're outperforming the standard. So let's just say we've got a 99% drop-off. All we're going to do all we're going to do is we're just going to get our team together or ourselves together, depending on the type of business we have. We're just going to make one improvement. We're just going to focus on all the things that we can do from session to add to cart. We're just going to brainstorm them. There's going to be 3 things, and we're going to implement those 3 things. And our goal, all we're going to do is we're just going to improve that stage of the funnel by 10%. So now we've gone same impressions, same clicks. We're going to 30,000 add to carts instead of 20,000 add to carts. And it's not actually a 10% increase, it's actually much greater, but you'll see that at the end because of the compounding effect. And then let's just say we're going to make one more 10% improvement from add to cart to transaction. So we're going to tell people that we offer Google Pay or Apple Pay, or we're going to make sure that we have an abandoned cart campaign in progress so that actually pulls people through the funnel. We're going to prompt them if they leave something in their cart. All these really simple things that I can tell you are not being done across a lot of businesses. Now I've gone from 10,000 transactions to now 18,000 transactions. And then everything else is going to stay the same. Just that one change, sorry I misspoke, just those 2 changes. So we've just improved 2 stages of the funnel. I've now unlocked 17,100 sales, same transaction value, so I haven't increased my transaction value. I've now unlocked $1.7 million in sales. That's $760,000 of extra sales and 180% increase. If you went to your investors and you said, hey, good news, we just fixed a couple of things and we achieved $760,000 extra in sales. Do you think the next round of funding, they would be pretty willing to invest? Yeah. So that is the importance. And I know it looks quite simplistic. It's like, yeah, that's easy. The amount of businesses, and why I still to this day have this as our leading framework, because the amount of businesses that do not know these numbers when I ask them, and I have to come in and manufacture this for them as a base, is what's holding them back from getting the results that they deserve. Because it's not that you're not working hard, it's not that you're not doing everything that you can to grow this business, it's just that the right things need to be done to set you up for success. Okay? So I just wanted to leave you on that because I think it's a really, really key part.
Given all of the sort of fairly significant changes through AI and the sort of people's attention span being far shorter than it used to be, do you see, and if so, what changes do you see happening in the website space? So I suppose one of the things is it hasn't changed substantially of late, and I'm sort of expecting that to shift, but I'm sort of very curious as to what changes you see in that space.
Yeah, great question. So what I'm seeing in the technology that I've tested is a personalised experience based on what I'm looking for. So if I'm going to a furniture website, for example, and they know I'm looking for an outdoor setting, they are just going to deliver me a purely personalised page on outdoor settings. And so that's all I'm going to get. Yes, I'm going to be able to navigate if I want to go off and look, but I am based on either what I'm putting in the chat, so what I'm saying that I'm wanting, it's going to deliver me on my screen while I'm talking. And when I say I'm talking to the AI agent or the chat bot in this speak. I'm going to get a fully personalised page on that particular. So that dynamic website, mass personalisation, is what some brands are now starting to implement, and I see happening again. I feel like I'm saying 12 months and I feel like it's going to be here in 6. And so I feel like when I've been doing these sessions over the last 12 months, I keep changing my dates of when I'm going to expect things to happen because it's all accelerating so quickly. So and I can see a lot of the providers and the platforms, Adobe, Salesforce and so on, have already got that technology available. So, and it's all going to be based off the prompts that are put into either the chatbots, which are now effectively AI agents responding. So we're going to have very dynamic websites. The experience I'm going to get versus the experience you're going to get could be completely different based on what we're searching for. So, all good.
Thanks, Aleisha. Awesome. Yeah, really good. There's lots of things which I'm like, meh, and a lot of things which I'm like, whoa. Mm-hmm. And one of the things was the digital asset management.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already doing a little bit of that with like Anthropic and just connecting to like pre-written documents that capture like our entire philosophy, everything that's working for our advertising, all the landing page stuff that works.
Mm-hmm.
So it can now cough up really pretty much like explanations of our sort of question. about a prospect, it could tell a story about how we could help
Yep.
like that person. But that's like a knowledge, we sort of think that's like a knowledge base that the LLM taps into. And
Yep.
I sort of see this digital asset management as being like for the creative side of things. My question is about what is the nature of the creatives in there? Because the thing that struck me was like you could repurpose content. We have a channel with like 350 YouTube videos. Those YouTube videos have generated 6.5 million followers, about 300 something million views.
Yep.
And now you're saying that that YouTube is no longer based on search but recommendations.
Yes,
If I was to
70%,
try
yeah.
and repurpose all of that body of work, which we know works in the past, would it now be as recommended? Let's say if you took all of those videos and you went, cut them all up, make new content, put that out there, would they get as much recommendation as the existing body of content that is obviously already being highly recommended because it's already trusted? And would you completely mess that up if you tried to do that? Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I think that you need to test it first and foremost, but you're not going to do any damage. So you won't do any damage by using that, breaking it up. And I'll give you an example. I have a podcast, it's called The Black Box of Media. And I have every episode's about 50 to maybe sometimes an hour and a half if it goes, but 50 minutes to an hour and a half. And so that's our long form content that sits on YouTube. All of that content is then cut up and sent out to all of our social media platforms in an automated way. Write this down, Taja, TAJA.ai. What you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to put all of your YouTube clips, your URLs, into this platform. It'll cost you like, I don't know, a few $100s, but it's going to be worth it. You will then go and put those YouTube clips in. It will break it up automatically for you, give you all of the SEO tags, all of the titles, and then you will use that across your content. Test it, let me know how you go.
Thanks. And just one more on the same topic. A lot of that repurposed content, let's say, for example, you said take your best creatives, right? Like this ad's made is 200 grand, like that's one of my best ones. But it's got music and overlays. So what is actually in the management system? Is it the original, like musicless, keyword text overlay stuff, less original video clips, for example, that just have a transcript, no branding, no anything, because the kind of the successful creative was the one that like had lead-in music and then it transitioned to the other thing. I'm just concerned, like, how would that?
The latter. You want to use the latter, the thing that worked. So in your inventory, you'll have like your brand, let's just call them the brand assets, which are just the raw videos, the raw, opening copy and stuff that you use. But what you really want to do is you want to give the platform that best performing creative and say, give me 5 new variations of this creative. It's the magic in the prompt to be able to take that best performer and then give you 5 new iterations because it was the music, it was the tagline, it was the hook that all worked. So if you can give the platform that, you're going to be able to get a better iteration as opposed to just going with the raw video.
Yeah, but so what's it actually then using to make the new one?
The ad.
So it's like an AI.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. Like it's taking the best ad for you, or it might
just look like Emma still doing the ad with her voice, even though it's actually completely
correct. And it will be to the point where it will do iterations of what she's saying when she hasn't even recorded it. Yeah. Yes, I know. We are all replaceable. We are all. Yeah. I know.
Sorry, have you ever used Hey Jen?
Yeah, it's another great one. Yeah.
Hey Jen.
Hey Jen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're all. I mean, the avatar's scary. Like my team did an avatar of one of my videos. I was like, no way. There is no way that it could have that expression. I was, yeah. So now I save my voice and just write scripts.
Steve Bartlett actually do a podcast, and the podcast ended up outperforming.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there's something to that effect and that's the crazy thing. And look, I don't want to get into the dark side today, but it is equally as scary when you think about this actually being our reality. And I'm finding it really hard to judge, especially in my social feed, like, is that real? and there's been a couple of things that have been quite like world events or something. It's just AI. It's like, that's petrifying.
There's a whole new movie out at the moment called Mountainhead, which pretty much just talks about this whole topic, but it's got Steve Carell and everything. It's all about tech billionaires, and one of them creates a whole new AI video gen thing, and it ends up getting put on news places and everything, and then World Wars start. So, yeah.
It's nuts, yeah.
Really good, interesting about that topic.
Wow. But then that's the reality, is that I'd like to stay on the, okay, I can only control the controllable, what can I use this for good? But I'm very aware, and even just with my team, I was talking actually at the West Tech Women this morning, and I was talking to someone, what I say to my team with general AI and ChatGPT usage is, if you're not comfortable with that being on the Sydney Morning Herald, for now, don't put it in. But we do need to think about, guardrails, governance, all that kind. And as leaders in business, I'm definitely feeling a huge level of responsibility to put that governance and to put those guardrails in place to make sure that we have a policy for everything that we're doing, because it is getting out of hand very quickly. So, any questions from online team? You're all very quiet. You're all on mute. They probably can't even. Do I have to take them off mute? No, all good? I think we're okay. Any questions from you guys? Anything else that you've got pressing that you want to know? If anything pops up over the next week or so, I'm actually here in Perth all week, so I'm going to be at West Tech and that kind of thing. If you've got any questions, and then James has got my email, so if there is a pressing question that pops up and you're like, hey, Aleisha, can you just elaborate on that? Feel free to reach out.
Are you going to send us a list of your favourite tech stacks?
I am going to send you a few things. Yes, there's a few things that I've noted that I will. My only comment on tech stacks is it's so personalised to the business. The requirements, what you're trying to achieve, is there legislation? Is it mass consumer? Is it mass B2B? Is it intimate? It really does come back to the type of business that you're running. So that's the only caveat I would put. But there are 5 or 6 tools that I've noted down to send you, that I'll send via James, so that you've got them post today's session. And we are actually, if you want to do a rewatch back, we are actually, I said to James that we would provide you an exclusive link to rewatch this if you want to go back and revisit anything.
Just on that, the whole way through, there's been, try this, do this, do this, there's all these options, highly tailored. Do you have a process or recommendations about how to kind of really quickly evaluate whether or not something is worth investing time and energy into? Because I guess with such a range and scope and different options, one of the daunting things is about leaning too far into something. I think you mentioned, 90% of these businesses are going to just end up completely bust.
Yeah.
And the leaders will come out in 12 months' time. And it's sitting on that cusp of how to invest energy and time and resources. Do you have a process that you go through to kind of get you there?
Yeah, absolutely. This is my process. Every time, I will not let a business invest unless they can show me that it's going to have an upside in here. So it will be, go back to here, what are we trying to achieve? We have a situation right now, we've got a client migrating from one CRM to another. So we know that there's a $50,000 opportunity cost where we're going to put stuff into this platform, but actually we're going to have to re-put it into this platform in 3 months' time. But we've gone through this process and gone, it's going to cost us $50,000, but it's going to generate $500,000 in revenue. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that investment, so let's go ahead. So now short term, we're going to make this investment. It's going to cost us $50,000 and we're going to have to transfer the programs over. But the upside, the commercial revenue upside that we can get within that period, totally worth it. So as long as the ROI is there, every time, that's my sense checker. And so when you're looking at it from a business point of view, to your point of here are I have a sheet every single day because I'm old school. Even though I love this stuff, I still have on one side, it's got my 20% items, so the 20% items that must get done today that are going to achieve 80% of the result. And then on the other side is the 80% items that are going to achieve 20% of the result. And so I never get to my 80%, but those 20% are most of the time driven towards this.
Jim, good hands with your mouth over there. We'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully.
Yes, no, that sounds amazing. Thanks, James. Yes. So that part is like it feels so basic, and like, I always say you got 168 hours in a week, right? And so I will, happy to show you my diary, but for the last 2 years I could tell you exactly where my 168 hours have gone every single week in buckets. Family, business, investments, personal development, exercise, sleep. Mission critical, by the way, founders, sleep is key, but like just to function. But it all comes back to this, is that if it's going to have the output, and again, qualitative and quantitative, is the data telling me that this could have a really good output for us? Tick. Okay, qualitative, what's my gut telling me? What's my gut, heart, whatever you want to call it, telling me this is a good decision? And then if you can get really good at synthesizing that down into those one or two things that you guys think, because it's ultimately your decision, that you think is going to shift the needle the most, that's when you start to get the momentum. Because then you start to trust the process, but you also start to trust yourself. And the latter is even more important than the process. But trusting the process, getting the wins, that builds every time. Because competence builds confidence. Competence builds confidence. More competent, more confident.
When you say that's the model, but like the stages can be different.
100%.
What you mean is the structure of this,
This needs to be tailored to your business. So I've just put random examples up here, but really I've got a client right now that's got an 18-step sales process. My first question is, oh my God, we have to condense that down. It's just like way too many steps. But this has to be your sales process. What are the milestones that somebody is moving through in your funnel to get?
Like, because the thing that struck me about that, and what I was saying before, like some things I was a bit like, it doesn't really apply for us because we're a community. So I would say that our where it says 50% drop off there in the middle on your first example, they've already bought them. So like the sales process doesn't end for us after the first transaction. Then there's like activation, adoption. Are we connecting them with other human beings? Are they getting that value? And then it's like repeat sale, repeat sale, repeat sale. And then we'll get our full, whatever LTV from each customer. But so then we kind of look at where is our drop off and what is our drop off as a result of. So we have this, but like the cart bit is like way at this end or this way. And then there's all the rest of it. And then even preceding the cart now, we've realised, like on the page before I kept flicking back because I was like, oh, I forgot I wrote that. There's, you were saying, what does my customer need to click? Or like, what are they clicking in order to buy? And then the three part to that is for us is particularly like, what are all the things this person needs to believe before they even get to the cart? And then the cart will just be like a straight line or a funnel. Just come in. And then we have the other things. So we would be able to like customize that into this same, which we kind of sort of ish do, but I think that's all marketing in a way.
You've got like 20 things in there. Like you're right, that is all, everything.
All that's marketing. It's not just I find this, the whole paid media part is, I find it a bit terrifying. Like your opening section is just like, I need to get away from this as much as possible. And I just want
most people feel that way.
to do the talking and bring more customers.
Honestly, I am a media advertising strategist at heart. Like that is literally how I've defined myself, as media advertising strategist. I want to do the minimum possible on media advertising. I only want media advertising to be new client acquisition. And then I want the back end, leveraging the first party data, nurturing people through the funnel, repurchasing to do the heavy lifting. So even as we started as a media advertising agency, transactional agency, planning, buying, activation. Everything I've learned, everything I've been through. And clients are like perplexed, but Aleisha, like, that's your thing. No, my thing is results. My thing is putting more money in my client's bank account than I take out. That's my thing. And to your point, is if you know that there are ways in which, within the first party data, within the clients that have purchased once that can purchase 5 times, focus there. Use your media advertising for new client acquisition. Clients that you can't otherwise get anywhere else. And yes, you can do a bit of, custom audiences and get them to come back and, meet them where they are and that kind of thing. But to answer your original question, you need to get this mapped out for that whole journey that we just spoke about. Pre-purchase, post-purchase. Because if you have that and you go, right, that's the first transaction here. But now number 2, 3, 4 are here. If you have that all mapped out, and you sit down and look at that, you are going to find and get clarity, to your point, on what you need to do next. Where do you need to invest? If you've got $5,000 to invest, where are you going to invest it? You're going to invest it where you get the biggest output. But this just at least gives you something to come back to. So if I'm ever stuck, or I'm doubting myself, or I'm thinking, okay, what do we need to do next? I come back to this. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I have that. It just doesn't end at impression and score.
Yeah. And it can be whatever you need it to be. Yeah. Hope you guys have enjoyed the session. I hope there's been some value in there. And I wish you all the best. I hope you absolutely crush 26 now.